Welcome to Enable Podcast, a space where women can grow, heal, and thrive in every area of life. I'm your host, and each week we explore the 8 pillars of wellness. Because being well isn't just about your body, ladies, it's also about your mind, your emotions, your finances, your relationship, your purpose, and the environment you live in. This podcast is a reminder that you don't have to do everything alone and you don't have to stay overwhelmed. Here, we have honest conversations. We learn from experts and share real tools to help you become the most balanced, confident, and empowered version of yourself. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's grow together, one pillar at a time. So, my ladies, I would like you to welcome you on our podcast. And without wasting any time, I'd like to introduce, or you guys to introduce yourselves, so that we can then get into the conversation of how we become enablers in work that we do. Without further ado, Aretha, let's start with you.
My name is Aretha. I'm a trauma counselor. And yes, I know it sounds very heavy, trauma counselor, so I prefer to call myself a cheerleader. Um, I'm the one who helps you reconnect with yourself, who helps you rediscover your inner strength and your inner power when you've gone through a toxic, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a working relationship, whether it's a sibling, whether it's wherever the situation might be. I help you discover your inner strength. Because a lot of women that I work with are stuck in toxic personal relationships or work relationships. And over time, they lose their voice. And their voice and their light gets dimmed because of what they need to go through and what they need to do to just stay, keep the job, stay in the marriage, stay in the family. And my job is to help you in a safe space to discover and to remember who you were before all of this happened to you. I'm not there to rescue you. That's not my job. I teach you to rescue yourself. And I give you tools to rediscover your confidence and your self-worth and everything that you are about. And I help you to become the 2.0 version of who you used to be.
Nice, nice. And Aretha, your company is called Me
But
Better.
Exactly.
I love that name. Hold it there. We'll come back to it.
Cool.
Zuki Solumbu, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please tell us a little bit about the beautiful work that you do.
Okay. My name is Zugi Solungu, as Olga has said. I am a mother, a sister, and an entrepreneur. I'm a founder of an organization called Konzonzo Holdings. I've got more than 20 years of ICT experience. I believe that each business deserves to have a strong woman in it. And the only way you get a strong woman is by empowering women, ensure that they are included in everything that organizations do. I'm also passionate about scouts, very actively involved in my church, and I am currently heading up the social aspect of Ewe. And I believe that the basic element of any community starts with an individual and starts with the home. And once the homes have got balanced and stable relationships, it's much easier then for those individuals to go out to the community and become a network that is strong and that is giving value. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about the foundation of any community beginning at home. And I think we through the story that you'll be sharing with us, we'll be exploring that in terms of how then you extend and through this principle of the foundation of the community beginning at home, how then it expands even in networks that you come across. So thank you for that, my Zooks. Lena.
Hi.
This is Lina. Lina from our NPO.
Our NPO.
I love the name of your
Yeah.
NPO. Please tell us about the work that you do.
Okay, so I run our NPO, and the aim is to empower, enable, and shift mindsets in young girls and young women towards self-sustainability, towards getting employed, um, mentally equipped to deal with life's issues, and generally to become the best version of themselves. Because we see in our community today, we've got like about 60% of youth unemployment. And a lot of young girls specifically do not have any chances in life whatsoever. They're not going to get anywhere. We do not have the structures, we do not have the networks, we do not have the support for these girls that they need. So what we do, we provide the structures, we provide the networks, we work in communities, we work with other NPOs, we pool our resources, and we focus on these girls. But saying that, there are a lot of issues around self-motivation. There are a lot of issues around the mindset of poverty, which basically is a mindset that makes you limit your own chances of excelling in life or even getting out of the situation you're in. So that is what we do, and we've got quite a few programs. We've got a program we are doing with So Africa, where we've got learnerships, and we are busy creating a CMT to create job opportunities while producing items that we will sell and that will fund the project, because we are not funded as it is. So we rely on collaborations, we rely on our own fundraisers, we rely on our human resources, which we have got so many human resources.
I think, the beautiful thing that, Lina, you've just raised, the concept of collaboration.
Yes.
Because it actually touches on the heart and the soul of what Ewe being Enable Women Enterprises. Yeah. It touches on the soul of what Ewe is about. Because there was a realization that as much as individually in our own practices, we have the ideas and the visions, but sometimes it does require that we collaborate from, with different companies, businesses, so that we can then get to have a bigger voice or a bigger share of voice. And in order for us to be able to deliver on enabling. And I think that's why today we are literally going to talk a lot about enabling. Because the next question then that I'm literally I'd like us to delve into is our why. Why are we doing what we do? Yeah? Because then once we start with talking about the why, we will also get to talk about the how we do it. Because ultimately, we can have these brilliant ideas, but if we do not measure that which you are doing, is it really impactful? How do we know that it is impactful? So I'm going to start with you, Lina.
Yes.
Why the NPO? Why? I know you've introduced, what you work with, who you work with, but why? And then after Zooks, I'll bring it to you, because then from a Zooki's perspective, it's more of your what you experienced that has birthed the social work that you do. So let's start with you,
Okay, so
why?
So the why, that is a good question. It is like around lockdown, we saw how this country was going down, how people were battling, how people were struggling, and a lot of us were in a situation where we just said, we feel so helpless, we feel so disempowered. And this is us sitting here with a sort of income, with a roof over our head, with food on our plates. And that is the time a lot of us actually came to realize there are so many people that don't even have these basic things. And the most disadvantaged group are the young girls and young women. One is that a lot of them, because of period poverty, don't get to get the education, and various factors as well mean they don't get a proper education. And which leaves them left even more behind. And we looked at this, and I looked at this, and I said, I do not want to live in this world. I do not want to see these young girls that could be shining stars and become fantastic people with careers, with lives, influence communities, not having a chance. So for me, having had a very affluent childhood, I took a lot of things for granted, and I looked around and I saw that this is not something that you as a young girl can just expect. So a lot of these girls are never going to have a chance in life. And then instead of saying, like a lot of people did, oh, I'm going to Australia, I'm going there, blah, 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 saying, okay, what can we do as people, and specifically as women? What can we do to empower young girls? What can we do to empower young women? And that was the seed of our NPO, and saying, okay, I can't do this alone. And I started talking to people. And I came across so many people that had exactly the same thoughts, saying, okay, I want to do something, I just don't know how. So we started talking, we formed an NPO, and we said, okay, let's do what we can. And one of the first steps was to start our PADS project, which we had researched and developed for 2 years, because we said, okay, these girls need to get to school. So let them have the pads so they can get to school. But we also realized the pads are not enough. Because you got the pads, you still go home, you're still hungry, you still maybe getting abused, you're still not having the help and the support structures that you need in your own household and community.
So in essence, while you're enabling, but ultimately the environment remains unchanged, and in essence then the person goes back to the same environment.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that goes to the why. The why is, it's for a lot of women, I think specifically, it is heartbreaking to see a young girl that has got the potential to become something. Just like as something, it's just to support herself and look after herself, and having that power. And you look at her age 10, 12, and you see, this is not going anywhere. She's not going to get out of this environment. So that is the why, to say, okay, I take responsibility. I'm going to take this responsibility, and I am going to do what I can to lift these girls. But it's also about shifting mindsets in the communities. It's also about enabling these girls to get the mindset that actually helps them to enable themselves. So that is also one of the things that's very important, that we have to work with the communities to say whatever way we can, and that's still the debate.
I think let's park it there, because I'm very, very interested in the mindset shift, which we'll talk about. I think once we hear Zugi, and then obviously go to Aretha. Zugs, take us through your experience.
Okay, so to answer your question as why. So for me, my why was very intentional. I'll start off with when this idea was birthed of making the difference and enabling others. It started off in 2006 when I was packing my bags and deciding to move to Joburg. And the reason that I was moving to Joburg is not because Cape Town was not working for me. Cape Town was great. It was amazing. I had just recently lost my mother, and my mother was the last family member that I had at the time. I'd previously, prior to that, lost my dad, my two brothers. So I was literally the only person left. Cape Town was amazing because my parents had a very extensive network in church and outside of church. The most painful thing for me was every corner I turned, I would meet someone that would say, "Ah, shame, man, now he's not alone." Or, "Oh, shame, now you're alone. It's only you left." I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to go somewhere where I can just be me without being looked at as, "Oh, shame, now you are alone." Or, so I had to be intentional about who I wanted to be and what value I wanted to add in others. I made a decision that I didn't want to be a victim of my circumstances, because I think often, when you are going through a lot, you tend to be absorbed by heavy feelings, and before you know it, you can find yourself being a victim of your circumstances. And for me, that the intention was, I don't want to be a victim of my circumstances. I want to talk about it because I want to help others that are going through the same. I want to show them that, there is a way out eventually. So yeah, and I also decided to enable others through my experiences. And also, I think it's very important to do something with intention. And the more intention you put into something that you do, the more it guides you towards your purpose. So I'm a talkative person. I find it easy to talk. And I felt that, yeah, it's good enough to talk, but if you don't add value or what you're talking is not valuable, what's your point? So naturally, I'm an introvert, despite no one wanting to believe this. Naturally, I am an introvert. But at some stage of my life, I had to find my voice.
Yes.
Because I'm naturally an introvert, I'm very careful when I talk what it is that I'm saying. Am I imparting something valuable or not? So I think that aspect comes from being an introvert. Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of networks because I value networks. I value people naturally. So then that makes it easy for me to then form those networks. But because of the value that I place in my networks, it goes with a lot of respect. So if I share my network with you, I want to make sure that you're not going to abuse, you're not going to use it. You're going to use it effectively, and you're going to use it with the same respect that, I honor it with.
I think there's one, as an extension from what Lena was saying, when Lena was talking about the mindset shift, you raised something very important there, which is about the victim mentality.
Yeah.
And I think when we get back to the mindset question, we will then see how we thread through that, so that then while we're doing the enabling of the people that we deal with, but we also we have it at the back of our minds that we are dealing with shifting the mindset from victim mentality to a victor, if I can use it, I can use that word. And on that note, Aretha, let's talk about the emotional journey that you went through, because sometimes I imagine that when you're sitting with emotional trauma, yes, it's easy to become a victim. How did you overcome that? And most importantly, with the people that you deal with, how do you instill? Because remember, you said that you are not you are there to enable them to help themselves.
Yes.
So in your work that you do, how do you shift them then from being a victim to being fully enabled? The emotional work.
Emotional work. Let me start with the background. You're working for a company, and your manager is this really charismatic, well-spoken leader. Everybody thinks he's the nice guy. And he praises you in meetings and he talks you up in meetings. And then the moment that you turn your back and you go back to your office, he's, oh, but did you see? And did you see she does it that way? And did you see that? And behind your back, he's a completely different person. And he speaks a different speak to what he speaks to you when you're in front of him. And you find out via the grapevine, did you hear what your manager just said about you? Or did you hear this? To such an extent, I've been through that situations. I've been in those situations where you literally, I call it my cover my ass file. When you start working at a company, you start your cover your ass file. And you don't keep it at the office. You put it on your computer at home.
On a USB.
On a USB where they go. And that's where you put all the emails, all the everything. You record and you save and you put everything on that USB. And then you go and put it at home. Because unfortunately, in a working environment, workplace bullying, I've noticed over the last month or so that I've been active on my LinkedIn profile. Workplace bullying is a very big and very real thing. And people don't know how to handle that. And where workplace bullying comes in, I'm there to help you set boundaries and to stand up for yourself. Because people are too scared. Because you know something's off about your boss. You know if he gets half a chance, you're out the door. And I'm there to help you protect yourself against that. Teach you to speak up and to say, listen here, I don't agree, and to set boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries and protect your sanity, working in a toxic environment will kill you. Literally.
You know, there's times, and I think there's an opportunity also for the affirmations. What are the things that I tell myself? Because sometimes
Yes.
I can be in an environment that is, that is not a healthy one. But I'm here, I'm there because that's where I earn a living.
Yes.
But then, and rightfully, as you've said, setting the boundaries. Setting the boundaries, yes, it can work. But what if my boss or my superior is powerful? Then what?
Exactly.
So it opens up an opportunity for the affirmations, because nothing that a person says will have an impact on me if I myself don't believe it to be true.
Exactly.
So maybe can you take us through within your work, the role of affirmations? How does it work? Have you used it, or with your clients? How does it work, Aretha? Because there is an opportunity for that.
I do, and at this stage, I have to admit I'm on the Let Them theory bandwagon that Mel Robbins wrote, which is actually, it's a brilliant book. And I don't want to market her book, but I've tried it for myself and it really works. If your boss is going to talk behind your back and he is going to do what he's going to do, let him. Let them. Let him talk, let him gossip, let him make you bad, but then let me set my boundaries, let me stand my ground, let me protect my sanity.
Okay.
By, if you feel like, okay, I'm going to explode if I don't get out of here, go outside and just stand outside in the garden and take a few deep breaths to gather yourself. Because when you're anxious, you have this shallow breath and it's like, and you feel like somebody's sitting on your chest and you can't breathe. And what now? Go outside and take deep breaths. Because if you take deep breaths, you get oxygen to your brain and you start to relax. And you cannot function and think of a way out of your situation or out of a conversation or out of whatever is going on at the office if you're anxious. And like you said at the beginning, just breathe. Breathe deeply. Get it, because if you get oxygen to your brain, you start relaxing. And when you start relaxing, you can focus. And when you're focused, you can say, okay, cool, this is what happened. How am I going to sit? How am I going to work my way around it? How am I going to get out of this? And unfortunately, a lot of people, that's their monthly income, that's their bread and butter, that's their roof over their head. And they know, if I lose this job, I'm going to live under a bridge and feed the pigeons. So you have to do what you can with what you got while you're in that situation until you can get yourself out of it. And if you can't get out of it, then I give you tools and I help you to stay in that situation, but keep your sanity intact and not lose it.
There is I really, I love what you're saying, which is because you're giving me tools of dealing with the situation right now. Lina, I'm coming to you with this with an extension from what Aretha has just said, because that which she has explained from a work environment, is that not what happens within our households?
Exactly.
Isn't that what happens, with regards to the GBV, which we know is such a scourge in our country right now? And if then, with the assistance, with being held our hands, then we start dealing with, or rather we receive tools
Yes.
of how do we diffuse a situation that we're faced with at home so that it doesn't escalate?
Exactly.
So I think, Lena,
Yeah.
I had promised that I'm going to come back. Mindset shift. Please take us through the current mindset, or rather the mindsets that you find, especially with girls, in the the work that you do. What are the challenges there? Because I remember, Zooks, you had spoken about that victim, shifting
Yeah.
from victim to victor.
Yeah.
But without jumping over that, let's unpack it. What are the mindsets that you come across, Lina?
Okay, so the mindset is a lot of times you've got what you call a limited mindset and a limited belief system that basically keeps you trapped in that role you're in. So you've got, first of all, you're always in fight or flight. If you are living in the circumstances of poverty and there's violence around you, and people are drinking, people are molesting other people, and no one's got jobs. So you're in that fight or flight mindset, which means it's very, very hard for you. We can come and say, okay, we're going to give you this workshop. We're going to talk to you about how to respect yourself and blah, 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 which it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick. And the main thing is, and that's why we started our mentorship program that we started in December, which we're still like finding our feet, because we came across challenges that we did not expect. Our idea was, okay, we've got someone in the community that's sort of in control in the way to say, okay, they speak with the girls that are on our program, and they make sure they sign up for the things, and they sort of know what's going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So last time we had December, we had a huge event and everything went well and everyone was happy. And last time we had an event, which was an organization that came out to give a speech about female health and deliver pads to the girls. We had 4 or 5 turn up. In spite of them, a week before, about 40 of them saying, okay, I'm on board. And that is the mindset where you're not really committed to yourself. And you're not committed to yourself. And you maybe think on the day you sign up and say, okay, fine, that's great, I'll come. But then come the day, oh no, let me just stay at home. And you do nothing to help yourself. So you are stuck in that mindset of, like you were saying, like the victim. You are a victim, but you're also not taking control of your own life. And a lot of them, then we try to get to the bottom of it, because this is the huge debate we are having in helping these communities. How do we help them help themselves? And there's got to be some sort of reward. That's what we realized. Like sitting with your hand and say, I need to get something out of it here and now. So what we are busy implementing now is a social rewards program, which every time you attend anything, you get X amount of points, a little bit like your clicks card. So we've got a database with you, and you go and help a little bit clean at community center, points. You attend one of the workshop, points. You do a yoga session with us, points. Anything you do, and those points you are going to be able to convert into something, like whatever that's. So this is a big program, but we are working on it with a lot of NPOs. We are working on it with sponsors. So we need people on board to sponsor things. But basically, you'll have a vault where you've got things that you can convert your points into. Say you need a food voucher from Pick and Pay, which that President also do in one of the programs. So that's actually fantastic. And school shoes, or you need something that's been donated, then you can convert your points into something. So in that way, you feel you are getting something out of it personally. And hopefully in that process, we are shifting your mindset towards you attending and doing these workshops and doing these online mentorship programs and doing things that actually help you shift your mindset. And like you're saying, shift away from that victim mindset. But it's not even, a lot of them cannot even, a lot of them also, you think about these girls, they don't have food security. So if you're thinking about food, you're you're going to think from A to B. You're not going to think, well, if I go every day and attend this program and I get this learnership and then I can do this in 5 months.
Mm.
You're just going to think from day to day, which is also, it's not motivating you. And this is also why we're saying we need to, and this is the big one, we need to work within these communities. We need to push that motivation. We need to get these girls out of the mindset of thinking that I can't do anything to change my life. It's not going to change anyway. Because, okay, now I went to this workshop yesterday and 2 days later, what has changed in my life?
Zooks, we can't move from 40 people confirmed in only 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's something there. So please share your views on that and the work that you do.
Look, yeah, for me, I think my first thought is the fact that, as Black people, we come from a background of being deprived of information. Information is an enabling tool, because once you've got exposure to information, it also guides your way of thinking, your way of seeing things, your viewpoint. So when you don't have access to information, you are very limited in terms of what resources you have within you and what decision. It also limits your decision and capacity. So I think the biggest challenge that you are having is people are not informed enough when it comes to what it is that you are offering and how it can help them and how it can enable them to grow as people. I mean, if these young girls attend, the few that attend, if they can go out back to the communities and share what they're learning and share how it's building them as humans, then you're going to see that it's going to have a drastic change where you're going to start having more people coming in, because now they realize the value in it. Because unfortunately, in situations like that, people don't do anything for nothing. And and especially when it comes to our young people, they have this instant gratification need that they're trying all the time to feed. So when it comes to things like that, it's not gonna be natural for them to go and attend, just for the sake of attending. However, if they realize what the value that's in it, then you're gonna see it's gonna start spreading. But I think don't lose hope. Continue doing the work that you do, because it's very good and it's very impactful. But be aware that you are dealing with young people from different background and different mindset. You know that, oh, I'm putting my time in this, I'm bringing value, but they don't. They don't realize that, they don't see that. But as time goes, you're gonna see a drastic change, because the few that are coming, they're gonna be different in the community because of how they're gonna do things. And I mean, that's how networks are built. Networks are not starting off big. They start off with one, and then you add another one, and so it goes. So that's my thinking in that. I mean, as in everything that we do as people, you don't always get what what you're trying to achieve, but you also get an opportunity to learn, because when you don't achieve what you're trying to achieve, you realize why not.
Exactly.
Like with you, you're also learning in the process, but that, oh, okay, so we come with this and it's not working because of how it's received. So which means then you need to kind of like change the way, or change your positioning, change the way that you're positioning it, so that to the audience that you're trying to bring it to, it's going to be well received.
I think I would like to also look at our NPO primarily deals with the younger people.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation we've had offline where we were saying that now we need to look at the mother of this young girl. Where is she emotionally? Where is she in terms of access to information, access to knowledge, the exposure? Where is she? And we're not necessarily talking to a person that is in the township per se. It's a woman across South Africa, right? So then when we look, and I think that's also the gist of what Airway, which is Enabled Women Enterprises, is about. So we look at the woman, And Aretha, I'm going to come to you because it's very important to sort of have a standstill and look at the barometer of my emotional barometer, if you can call it that, to see then that for this young person that I have to impart knowledge, to impart or to create this hunger for life, and opportunities. Am I really in an opportunity to do that? Am I really in a position rather to do that? And how do we then? Because I think you mentioned it earlier, Lina, that ultimately you can do all these brilliant projects, but you're still sending that child back to the same household or the environment that needs to be looked at. So I think, Aretha, let's talk about from that emotional barometer for now. Here I am. I'm the mother. Talk to me, so that then tomorrow, if I have to send my little one to a program, I understand the value.
Yeah. I think you as a mother, as probably a working mother, a wife, a friend, sister, you need to start listening to what your mind and your body is telling you.
I'm hungry.
I know, but that's the whole. You can't go hungry and you can't function from half a tank. You need to make sure that you run on a full tank or at least 3/4. Otherwise, you're going to be worth nothing to nobody. And I think when you're overwhelmed and you feel like you're stuck, it's not a sign of weakness. It's just a sign that you've been carrying too much for too long.
True.
And you start realizing, like, listen, this is not good for me. This is not a healthy situation that I'm in. Start listening to what your mind and your body is telling you. If you are constantly drained and tired and under pressure and walking on eggshells around somebody, that's your body telling you, listen here, how much clearer do I need to wave those red flags before you see them?
Ladies, help me to put the baggage down.
Yes.
Let's unpack it. Help me put the baggage down, because yes, you're right, Aretha. I mean, I'm carrying it.
Exactly.
It's too much, and I really don't know. And I know with you, Zooks, maybe you'll share with us later, but you carry a lot, and at some point in time, you have to put it down. Help me put it down.
Exactly, and that's where I come in.
Okay.
I'm there to either you go and speak to a friend, but friends are good, but friends can also stab you in the back.
True.
Friends are only as good as you are of value to them and you can benefit them sometimes. The friends that will sit in the jail cell with you saying, well, that didn't go as planned, are far and in between. So that's where I come in. I'm there to support you and to give you tools to help you carry that burden. And I'm there to help you to remember who you were before you started doubting yourself, before you lost your confidence, before you lost your voice. And my job is to help you find it again. Because whether it's a toxic work environment or personal relationship, I understand the dynamics. I've been in both. And what I've noticed from ladies that I work with or groups that I belong to on Facebook and on LinkedIn, the moment that they read your comments on what the group is discussing, they can see, okay, this woman knows what she's talking about. She's gone through this. And I've seen this happening to a lady. I mean, I'm sitting here in Joburg. I helped a lady in New York City. And I asked her, listen here, girl, I'm sure there's a therapist around every street corner. And she says, yes, there is. But when I read your comment on that post, I knew I could come and talk to you because you know what you're talking about. You've been there, you will be able to help me. And that's exactly what I did. We had a few sessions and I gave her tools and I helped her and I said, listen, you remember who you are. what other people say, what other people think, what other people, whatever they do, it's none of your business. Let them talk. It's got nothing to do. It's nothing. It's got nothing to do with you, what they say behind your back. What you need to do is be happy with who you are and remember who you are as a person. What makes you happy? What makes you want to get up in the mornings? Whether it's counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'm up, then you do that. If you are used to be somebody who was a go-getter and up and running and always there for your friends, and then suddenly something unhealthy happens in your relationships and suddenly you shut down, suddenly you lose your confidence, you lose your voice, and that's where I help you to find that voice again, so that when you start making your decisions using the tools that I give you, you make them from a place of self-respect, not of fear. Because fear is the biggest creator of anxiety and of mental issues and of being unmotivated and want to just crawl into a hole and stay there and hope the world swallows you whole sometime or another, as long as you just don't have to deal with anything. It's fear. And if I can help you conquer that fear and remember who you were so that you can become a better version of that, then why not?
Zooks? Sorry, did I catch you there? Zooks, do you see yourself in what Aretha is saying?
No, absolutely. Just to take things back to you're talking about carrying this baggage. Now, this baggage to me could be grief. This baggage can be abuse. This baggage can be being stuck in poverty. Um, for me, again, it goes back to information, access to information. But more than information, it's also about having a deep yearning to heal. Because
Yes.
once you then come to a space where you get tired of carrying this baggage. So let me give an example about what I went through. So for me, my baggage was grief. I experienced grief at a very young age. I lost my younger brother when I was 7. And there wasn't really, therapy or anything of that sort. It was just a matter of, I think my parents were also too consumed by what had happened, and it was kind of like difficult for them to even consider what I was going through. So for them, it was a matter of, you know, carry on as usual as much as possible. And then again, a few years later, I lost my older brother, and then that whole grief started all over again. Then I lost my dad, I lost my mother. I moved out of Cape Town, moved to Joburg, started a family, had my husband, then I lost my husband again. At that stage, the baggage became too much, because now I was not only facing the situation on my own. I had to be a mother to 6 boys. I had to make sure that they go to school. I had to make sure that, they function as normal human beings in the society. But I can't give from empty cup. I can't give to them what I don't have for myself. So at the end of the day, then it starts with an individual. So you got to heal as an individual, so that then you are able to heal others. If you don't do self introspection and say, am I able to give what I don't have? Am I able to make an impact onto others? You need to start with self and say, okay, I can't do this anymore, and be realistic, because you can't say, oh, I want to do this for others, oh, I want to do that. You can't. At some stage you have to be honest with yourself and say, what do I need to move from here to the next step? And then that's when true healing starts. Because once that yearning for healing and identifying that I need to heal happens, then that's when you are able to be impactful. Because once you've healed, you are now able to share your story and impact others and help others to also find their own healing.
Lena,
Yeah.
again borrowing from first doing the inner work. I know you do yoga
meditate.
yoga as part of the healing, and you incorporate that in the projects that you do.
Yes.
Take us through that. Why and how have you seen it helping, and how does it help in the greater scheme of things?
Okay, so we have not to date started the yoga. That is the next
Okay.
step, which is going to happen at the next, I think, at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. We are going to introduce yoga once a week eventually, but to start off with maybe twice a month, because it is to do with resources.
Okay.
But what I know from someone that is involved in a project where they also say we start each morning with an hour of yoga, is that you get into that mindset of peace. You get out of that mindset of fight and flight. You start to focus. You become more centered. You become calmer. So starting off with yoga and then learning new skills or information actually enables you to process the things much better. So that is that
Yes.
whole mind body
Yes.
connection, which is so important. But with that, can I ask a question?
No, sure.
I had a question when you saying what you do. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm this woman stuck in an abusive relationship or toxic work environment, and I'm just stuck in it, and I don't know who to talk to, and I don't know where to go, and I'm not telling my friends completely, or maybe they're in the same situation. How do I get to that point of saying, okay, I need someone like you to, I don't even know about these things because I'm just so busy functioning and trying to avoid my boss or trying to not displease my husband, or how do I actually start to learn about these things and to know that there is help to get? And I've heard from a lot of these women, they don't even share these things within their own little circles.
Yeah.
So I think that's also like a big question is how do I get to know I can get help, and are people willing to help me?
You need to start talking.
And if I don't,
open your mouth, because you need to, even if it's just your work colleague that you trust, or your neighbor that you trust. If you're going through a toxic relationship at home, just find someone to just speak to and say, listen here, I am going through X, Y, and Z. Can I talk to you about this? And then start talking. And I've noticed from personal experience, because I kept my big mouth shut. I did not talk to anybody. I just tried to handle it myself until it blew up in my face. And then I realized, okay, cool. You need to start talking to people, or otherwise you're going to destroy yourself even more than you are already being emotionally and verbally destroyed. So I started talking to one or two of my neighbors and say, listen, yeah, I'm going through this and this and this. And from there, it kind of snowballs because they go like, oh yeah, I know, because I've gone through this and this and this and this. And just the fact that you trust somebody enough to start opening up makes them realize, listen, yeah, she's going through a similar situation than I did. Maybe if I speak to her and we are three ladies in the same complex and we can talk to each other, we can support each other. Because we've gone through similar but completely different situations, and we can support each other. At the end of the day, you want to feel heard. And if you keep it bottled up inside you, you're not going to be heard by anybody. You need to decide for yourself, okay, I cannot do this on my own anymore. I need to speak to someone.
If I may add there, Zooks, you will can attest, and I think we come from the different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I know, we come from a background that says it takes a village to grow one person or to support a person. And you'd find that, in terms of, where we come from, an elderly person will see that there's something wrong
Yeah.
with Lena.
Mm.
There's something wrong. Something is amiss.
Yeah.
So, and back then they had a much bigger conviction to go and maybe to address and say that I can see there's something is not right with you, Lena. You know, doesn't necessarily, and at that point in time, I'm sure, obviously, when you're sitting in a situation, you try and cover up, make sure that no one sees, but actually, people do see.
Yes, they're not blind.
So the fundamental difference is the people of the now, there is the whole thing of personal space. But the people of then would generally would come and say, Lena, I can see there's something wrong with you. You don't have to tell me what you're not comfortable to tell me, but I can see. When you are ready, I'll be here to talk. Because then in that way, we then step into that, the position of holding a space, safe space for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what in the time of now
Is
we
lacking.
need.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it means that, as we're sitting here as a collective, if you see that there is something amiss about me, tell me. I might not know what's, and with you, Lena, specifically, because Lena is an energy person.
Yeah.
I am in.
She picks up on the energy, the energies of people. And when something is amiss, she's able to say, I felt your energy. And I think we don't give enough credence to that. And then use that as well as part of reaching out.
Yeah.
Without crossing the boundaries.
Exactly.
But just saying that we see. I can see you. I see you. Yes, I can see that you're anxious about something. It's going to be okay. We need to be doing that, especially, when we were talking about the mindset shift, especially in the work that you do.
Yeah.
They're sitting with a lot of things that they're
Bottling.
bottling. A lot of things they're bottling. And you'll find that the bottling doesn't only come from the kids, the adults as well.
I think we are missing something very crucial that, in the olden days, in the times of our mothers, I mean, I'll speak about my mother specifically. She was a community mother, she really took it upon herself to reach out to as many people as she possibly could. I mean, she was just an amazing woman. She was a nurse when I grew up, my mom was a nurse. She later became a social worker, but she didn't become a social worker just to tick a box. She truly was, And I think the value of our communities has kind of like diminished because of all these new changes of personal space and everything. And I think it's going to start with an individual making that choice and saying, I decide to be an enabler. So for me, becoming an enabler came from a space of, I wanted to be the friend that I needed.
Yes.
And that's where it came from. It came simply from a space of, I wanted to be the friend that I needed. So if I could start by being that I needed, then I become that to the next person, and the next person will convert and say, hey, I want to be what I needed. And then by doing that, we create a much better community. But coming to you, Lynn, about where do these people find help? You're sitting there, you need help. Most of the communities have churches. And I think church becomes a very crucial element in the communities in terms of information where people need help. That's always the point of help, where people need help, whether it's they need food, they need emotional support. So I think it's always then easier to say, when people need help, please reach out. Don't sit and just, bottle up. Because, I mean, if you are facing maybe an abusive situation, you're just sitting, I mean, yourself emotionally, you're not in a good space, you're going to be reactive, you're going to, so you're not going to help the situation, you're going to make it worse. However, if you go to a church or go to a community environment where you can vent out and say whatever that you want to say, you now then get to calm down. So in a church situation, you'll be told, okay, now pray, be calm. So by praying, you are becoming calmer. So which means you're not then going to be reactive. So you're not going to make the situation worse. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about your question that you asked about where do you access this help? Where do you find these people? Because then the church itself becomes a source of a network for people that say, hey, I've gone through the same thing. That's where I got help. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. I think in conclusion, because now we've run out of time, but in conclusion, I'll give you just a minute with your closing remarks. But most importantly, so that you can also communicate, where do we get hold of you? To the viewer that's listening or watching, where do you get hold of you? Because today, the stories that you've spoken about, they resonate with someone out there.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay.
So Instagram, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook. You can get hold of me personally. So we are under our NPO. So that's the best way to get hold of it.
That's your handle.
Yes,
Our
the NPO.
Our NPO.
NPO.
Okay.
But yes, but you can also get hold of me personally if you would like to talk to me.
Okay. Aretha?
I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook under Me But Better Counseling. I decided to go the American way with one L in my counseling. when they did my website, I thought, oh, okay, Vinesh did it with one L. Okay, let's do it like that. So it's Me But Better Counseling. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you will see in my bio, there's also a WhatsApp number that you can WhatsApp me. And I have actually, if you need instant gratification, send me a WhatsApp and I send you a voice note back so that you can get help immediately and you don't have to wait 2 weeks to get to a psychologist or somebody that can help you. Send me a WhatsApp and within 24 hours, I can give you instant clarity. But the number is on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's everywhere.
And now that you've seen Aretha's face, it's definitely not AI.
She's not AI. This is, yeah, because AI is patient. Woo! AI makes you look beautiful.
Yeah, but there's a face behind that voice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aretha. My Zooks.
Okay, so for me, my parting remarks are it's very important to be intentional about what impact and what footprints we want to leave behind. And I want to say this as a person, you've got to be intentional about, being helpful to others. And that's how we're going to be able to create a better society, a better environment, because we always talk about, oh, this world is so different. It never used to be like this. It was better with our parents. What is it that they did differently than to us? We now sitting with so much information in our exposure, but what are we doing about it? So you have to be intentional. As an individual, you have to take a stand and say, I want to make a difference. And it's very important also to heal. We've got to heal because you can't give from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup first so that you can be able to give unto others. So yeah, that's me, Zuki Swalungu. And if you are looking to find me, my handle is Zooks Mamtwa on all social media platforms.
And she is a brilliant storyteller, that one. So if you ever have programs where you need a storyteller,
We do.
She's brilliant. Because most of the stories that she tells is things that she has experienced.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more there, my Zooks. But don't worry, don't despair. Zooks is our resident social wellness pillar person, so you'll get to hear and interact more with my Zooks. Thank you so much, my ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the viewers at home, for tuning in. Like we said, this space is about enabling you, even at a time when you feel that you don't know where to start.
Yes.
There's always someone with a hand out, ready to help you. And our commitment is that we don't only help you once off. We hold your hand throughout the process. So every week, look out on our social handles. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on LinkedIn. There will always be information that supports you so that whatever information we give you doesn't get lost in the sea of everyday mundane things. So until next time, stay fresh, stay cool, and know that we love you. Thank you.